The next major factor that influences consumer behavior is social factors. Man by nature is a social animal. Can you imagine a situation where you are not in touch or you are not at all influenced by any of the social members of the society? We cannot. We can never imagine living without the society. So, the influence of these social factors cannot be ignored when understanding the consumer behavior. In fact, most of our consumption behaviors we have taken from the society and the social factors. If we look at each of the factors, it is the family which has taught us what we are today. Whatever we are today, it is the family. And we are always guided by one person or other whom we take as a reference or benchmark or for comparison or for influence. And we always go by the roles and status in the society. What is our role and what is our status? Accordingly we behave. So, none of these factors, if we ignore, we can survive as marketers. So, let us understand one by one. Now, when we have to understand the concept reference groups or family, we have to understand the concept of groups first. What is a group? A group may be defined as two or more people who interact to accomplish either individual or mutual goals. So, when two or more people come together to interact and to accomplish either individual or mutual goals, we say that we are in a group. Having understood the definition of group and the reason for coming into the group, because man is a social animal, and at every stage, every day of life, man cannot live without interactions with the members of the group. We have to look at how it influences his behavior, particularly the buying behavior. One of the major group that marketers are interested in groups is reference groups. Every day and for everything, human being looks for comparison or for guidance or as a benchmark. Many people in our day-to-day life. Hence, there are various reference groups. The reference groups are groups because of their special skills, knowledge expertise or personality which exerts social influence on the people. These are called as reference groups. So, these are the people whom normally we compare or we take their influence by virtue of their special skills, knowledge, expertise and personality, and these are the people who influence on social systems. So, the next question, as though we have understood, what are the factors that affect the reference groups? Now, why should we take the reference groups apart from their skills, knowledge, expertise? Is because they have information and experience. They are already familiar with the product or the situation and they have a lot of information. Because of that, we take them as reference groups. Then we do not follow every Tom, Dick and Harry because they have expertise and experience or knowledge or information. The reference groups are to be credible and they also must be attractive and they should have the power. And we do not take the reference groups for all products. For routine products, we do not consult anybody or take any reference. So, it goes with the conspicuousness of the product. The more the product is visible, the more we look towards the reference groups. Now, imagine a situation that as a student you are having so many people around you, including your classmates. Suppose if somebody asks you, who are your friends? The natural tendency is to tell everybody in the class or everybody around are my friends. But you should be very careful with the friends. There are many, all are not friends. Even the acquaintances we say, they are friends. So, friends has a broader meaning, but whatever, we tell everybody is my friends. But when you are actually doing an assignment or a work related task or assignment, you do not work with everybody in the class or those who are around you. You will take a few who can guide you, help you in that particular task. So, that is called as work group. When you are going for shopping, again you do not take all the so called friends or those who are working with you on the job or on the task. You may take your mother or brother or a sister or a neighbor or a friend who may not be in the work group, who can help you or who has previous experience and can guide you properly in shopping. Those people only you will take for shopping. So, the shopping group is different. When it comes to consumer action, you want to fight for something. Again, you do not take those people who are around you or who came with you to the shopping. You take people who have the legal expertise or who can fight for your rights or for others' rights. There is a separate consumer action groups. And finally, if you ask, I am on the Facebook, I am on Twitter, so on and so forth, we are again there in the groups. And we get again various advices from those groups, who may not be in touch, they may be far away. So, they are called as virtual groups. So, where you are member of the group and you take the advice from them also. Now, why somebody would look for a reference groups? is for influence. So, the reference groups to which you look at would provide first information. The individual seeks information about various brands from an association of professionals. So, you seek information from those who work with the products as a profession or generally those who deal with those products. So, you seek the brand related knowledge, experience from friends and neighbors, relatives who have reliable information. The brands which the individual selects is influenced by observing a seal of approval of an independent testing agency many times. So, it all depends on the kind of information. So, if they have the right information, you think and take that as a reference group. So, the next influence is in terms of the utility. When we go for the utility, we have to look at the utilitarian function and what the reference groups can give us in terms of utility. The next reason for seeking the reference groups or the reason why the reference groups will have influence is utilitarian. So that he or she satisfies the expectation of fellow work associates. The individual decision to purchase a particular brand is influenced by their preferences. The individual decision to purchase a particular brand is influenced by the preference of the people with whom he or she has a social interaction. So, what utility the reference groups can give to the one who is seeking also makes the influence. The next is value expressive influence. The individual feels that the purchase or use of a particular brand will enhance the image others have of him or her. That is the value. If they can help in either in terms of image enhancement or profit enhancement or time as a value, then the reference groups can have influence on the people who are seeking it. Now, the reference groups influence are at various levels. It could be at normative level or at comparative level. When we look at the various reference groups which would exert our influence, we will see that at the heart is you, the friends, the family, neighbors, subcultures, cultures and other cultures. So, this would change because when you are young and you are cross teenage, then the reference groups you look at normally would be your friends. But otherwise, if you are a preteen or a child, the first reference group will be the family. But whatever, we look at the influence from the reference groups at various levels. The one is normative. Here the reference group help set and enforce fundamental standards of conduct, as it gives reinforcement and criticism to the individual at a very normative level. Say for example, the child in the initial stages learns behavior from the family, how to eat, how to sit, what are the values, how to respect elders, how to learn, how to study, everything they learn from the family at a normative, at a fundamental level. Then comes, as the child grows, there is a comparative influence for which he will look also for reference groups, where decision about specific brands or activities are affected as individuals compare themselves to group members. It could be friends or it could be neighbors. So, the next influence from the reference group is at comparative level. It can be at formal level or informal level. A reference group that takes the form of a large formal organization that has a recognized structure. In the formal, there is a recognized structure, complete with a charter and regular meeting times, and there are hierarchies and officers. So, the marketers tend to be more successful at influencing the groups as they are more easily identified and accessible and would listen in the formal. In the informal, it is a small and informal, such as a group of friends and students living in the dormitory, or they meet at the bus stop for some time every day and they go away. So, these are the groups which for marketers it may not be much use, but otherwise for word of mouth sometimes it can be of use. Whatever, there are formal and informal influences by the reference groups. The next would be through membership and aspirational. The group consists of people and consumers who actually know. In the membership groups, they actually know and they are there because of their membership. The factors influencing that people will become the part of the consumer identification reference group is propinquity, mere exposure phenomena, or group cohesiveness. Say many of us join certain clubs because that is where we want to show that I belong, and many times afterwards we join for getting advices or for various reasons we join as a member with many professional bodies. And there is also an aspirational group. It is composed of idealized figures such as successful business people, athletes, sportsmen or performers. So, many cricketers who are playing at the league level, for them the Ranji trophy or the national cricket team is what is aspirational. They want to become the members of that group and they always look at that group as reference. Again, there are two groups, positive and negative. Consumer model their behavior to be consistent with what they think the group expects of him, the positive. There is a negative group. Consumers may try to distance himself or herself from other groups or people that function as avoidance group and scrupulously avoid buying anything that might identify him or her with that group. For example, in every class, there will be groups. This group to which you belong, you think that it is a positive group, and there could be some baddies or with bad habits or who do not study or who have come to while away their time in the class. You try to avoid. That is avoidance group or negative group for them. So, also for them, for that group, this group is studious, always serious, they do not talk with each other. So, for them it is an avoidance group. So, you will try to avoid in whichever group you are, the other group which you think as a negative group. So, as we were discussing earlier, the reference groups will play major role when there are two things that are important to them. So, the two dimensions that influence the degree to which reference group are important is whether the purchase is to be consumed publicly or privately, and whether it is luxury or a necessity. So, the reference group influence will be important in two occasions. When we are dealing with luxuries, or if the product is socially conspicuous or visible to others. So, when the products which we are dealing are luxury, which we want to showcase, so we will ask people, we will consult neighbors, is this making them to look luxurious, or what others are imagining about me? You will check, and what makes me further to look good, this is what we will be looking at. And for the products which are socially conspicuous, say for example, your clothing, your jewelry, your accessories are socially conspicuous. People see your house, where you are, your salary, your car, these are all socially conspicuous products. So, we tend to normally take the reference group's advice, or they have an influence. Suppose if the product is not socially conspicuous, the bathroom or kitchen or the innerwear, that is the reason why for long people are not worried about the brands, because nobody would see what I am wearing inside or what is there in our bathrooms or kitchen, but gone are the days. Today people are being taken into the bathrooms, and also they visit rather, and they are taken into the kitchen to show their cutlery and show their materialism. So, the times are changing, even those which are earlier not socially conspicuous are becoming conspicuous. So, the influence of reference groups will increase wherever the products are socially conspicuous. Now, coming to the power of reference groups, it can have social power, it can have referent power, it can have information power, it can have legitimate power, it can exert expert power, it can exert reward power. By rewarding the advice taken by the reference groups, if you look good, that is a reward power. The coercive power, many times you have to follow those advices, otherwise you will be punished. Hence, the reference groups has a lot of influence through information, utility, value, and also through the powers. Hence, many of us seek the reference influence. One of the major, as we were discussing since beginning, many of us consciously or unconsciously follow the celebrities or take celebrities as a reference group. The celebrity can be from the film, movies, or sports, or literature, music, anything. So, many of the young generation people, or for that matter everybody, follows celebrity as a reference group. Now, in what way the celebrities will exert their influence? They can exert influence in 4 ways. The first is actor. The second is by endorsing. The third is by giving a testimonial. The last is acting like a spokesperson or brand ambassador. Now, let us discuss one by one. If a celebrity is just acting, he presents a product or a service as part of character endorsement, then he is an actor. Here the celebrity is only presents a product, he carries the product like this, or he wears that as part of the character endorsement. So, in many movies, as we were discussing, the movie merchandise is the actor would be wearing it, or he presents the product of that. If he drinks Thumbs Up, or if he drinks a particular brand of cola, or if he wears a particular brand, you would be feeling that you also should have. So, here this celebrity is acting. The next level is endorsement. The celebrity lends his or her name and appear on behalf of a product with which he or she may not be an expert. Here, more than acting, he lends his or her name and appear on behalf of a product with which he or she may not be an expert. Many times the film stars appear on behalf of bank, and they try to promote the bank, saying it as the best bank. So, what they are doing is they are endorsing. The next level is testimonial. Based on personal usage, the celebrity attests to the quality of the product. So, by actually using the product, say hair oil or soap or the creams, they actually use and they attest to the quality of the product. Many times whenever companies are in trouble, they take the help of the celebrity, they take them around to the factories, they make them to see the process of making the product, they make them to use the product and then attest. So, here the celebrity is used as a testimonial reference group. The last one is spokesperson, which is where the celebrity represents the brand or company over an extended period of time, could be for 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, etc. The spokesperson is the one, if a celebrity is working as a spokesperson, he has to attend all the AGMs, annual general meetings, or whenever the store is launched, and he has to carry the same brand of clothing or apparel wherever he goes, and he would be paid more than what he would have been getting as an actor or endorsement or testimonial. And the difference is also, as the type of appeal is changing, the monetary rewards for the celebrity also changes. Hence, we have to understand the celebrity and other reference group appeal. So, after understanding the celebrities and their appeal in terms of the 4 ways they can be used, each would cost and the application and the target audience would be different for the celebrity appeal. Now, why we have to use the celebrity groups is the audience, the reader or viewers will react positively to the celebrity's association with the product. The loyal followers of that celebrity will be much easily influenced. Since they are already familiar with the celebrity and his credentials and his influence, people will be able to relate and believe, and those who are the followers of that celebrity would easily continue to buy the product, or whatever is his suggestion they would follow. But there has to be carefulness when you are using the celebrities as a reference. It is like a double-edged knife. Many celebrities, as long as they have the credibility, they can have the positive influence. But when the celebrity undergoes turmoil, or there is a negative image that he develops later on, there is a possibility that it also influences the product likewise. As he influenced positively, he might influence negatively also on the product or on the brand. And many times the celebrity may not be an expert, hence the advice is not always followed. Hence the risks are there, but whatever, because there are more positive aspects of celebrity influence, particularly in fashion and lifestyle products, we make use of the celebrities. They instantaneously get attention, they instantaneously get interest. So, the usage of them in advertisements is more with respect to the fashion and lifestyle products. Now, coming to the other reference groups which also can have influence on buying behavior is through an expert. The experts also, like a doctor, though he is not a doctor, which in many countries the doctors are not advised as part of the professional ethical code of conduct to represent a particular brand or particular company. But still, if you are a Formula 1 racer and if you give advice, that would be taken more. Or as a designer, if you suggest certain trends or products, probably that would be taken by the consumers. So, an expert is a person because of his or her occupation, special training or experience. He is in a unique position to help the prospective customers to evaluate the product or service that the advertisement promotes. So, is a person because of his or her occupation, special training or experience, is in a unique position to help the prospective customer to evaluate the product or service that the advertisement is promoting. Say I want to buy a laptop. I want an expert advice, not a celebrity advice as to which computer. If a computer expert suggests, after comparing various features, I would go by that. The next reference group appeal is the common man's appeal. Many times a typical, say for example, housewife, she will have so many problems at home, daily, day in and day out she will be facing with respect to the utensils or cleaning of the room or cleaning, washing clothes, etc. So, if a celebrity suggests her solution who will not be facing those kind of situations and problems, probably the housewife will not take, moreover they may laugh at the advertisements. Hence, it is advisable that we use a common man who is similarly going through the problems to give a suggestion or a solution. Hence, the reference group appeal that uses the testimonial or of a satisfied customer who is also going through the same problems, the common man would take their suggestion. Next reference group appeal is executive or employee spokesperson. This would help particularly in job recruitment in the service industry or in the high-end industries. If the outsider says that this is the best company to work with, the prospective employees may not be believing. But if the chief executive himself or the employee working in that company suggests that this is the best company to work with, then they would believe. Even in terms of advertisements of the products, many companies of late are using the CEOs to be the brand ambassadors. If Bill Gates himself promotes or he used to the Microsoft products, people would believe and they will go by his word. Hence, the executive and employee spokespersons reference group appeals also many times is being used. Then the trade or spokes characters, that is, they are quasi celebrity endorsers. Say when we are hungry, particularly children, they want to eat something, and children normally prefer biscuits. And after eating biscuits, how much energetic they should become? Like a tiger. So, the tiger biscuits or the tiger as a spokesperson or a character would make them believe that yes, there is a good biscuit. Likewise, I want to use tire which will go through the heavy rough and tough roads and heavy weights. Hence, the strong man who is a spokes character or a trade character is used as a reference group appeal. Consumers can easily relate that this tire or this product is as strong. So, that is the reason why we are studying. Consumers are invariably, being a social animal, is influenced through the groups, and particularly they always look for advice and consultation from various reference groups. That is the reason why we have discussed the various reference group appeals till now. The next group that is going to help the consumers in their behavior is family. Now, let us discuss the family and its influence. The major influence from the social factor on consumer behavior is none other than the family. It has greatest impact on the consumers, right from how to buy, what to buy, where to buy and when to buy. The children has learned from their families only many of their consumer behaviors. Now, when the child is small, they have seen their mothers or sisters going to the market, how they have gone, how they bargain and how they select the product, has a great imprint on the young minds which they carry in the subsequent years. Even when they get up in the morning, what kind of toothpaste that is to be bought, or what the family is using, what kind or brand of toothbrush they are using, what kind of soap, bathing soap the house is using. That normally continues. The family has a normative influence on general buying behavior, how to behave. A person learns from his family. So, the influence of family members on many of the purchasing decisions is phenomenal. And moreover, in societies like India and Asian economies, the influence of families is phenomenal. There is still the cohesiveness of families and family values which run through many of the consumers. So, the importance of the family as a factor in consumer behavior. Many of us today view, even we come across people saying that mere living together, they say we are a family. Even some of the students or men who for the sake of convenience live under one roof, they say we are a family. But the traditional definition says that if two or more persons related by blood, marriage or adoption who reside together are called as families. Two or more persons related by blood, marriage or adoption who reside together is called as a family. Let us not get confused with families with the households and home. They are different from the concept of family. They are the physical places or where you have experiences, but family as a unit is different from the households. Now, let us understand the types of families that are there. The nuclear families, that is where the wife and husband and children reside together. In most of the economies, nuclear families is what is the norm. The next type of family is a joint family. In traditional societies, particularly in India or in many of the Asian countries, the families are joint families, wherein the surviving grandparents will be there and his children, their children live together. This is what is the joint family. So, the behavior of the joint families will be different from the nuclear family. The head of the family, normally the grandfather or grandmother would tell or dictate what is to be followed, and they buy in bulk and they make the products how it has to be consumed also, the rules will be set. So, the behavior of joint families will be different from the nuclear families. Then another type of family is extended family, which is now becoming a norm now. As many people living in cities find that there has to be somebody back at home, an elderly person who can guide them, who can provide them the assurances and support, is making many of the nuclear families to take one of the surviving elders. It could be father or mother at the family. So, they are extending it to the next one or two members of the elders. Then the single parent family, many times by virtue of the differences or compulsions or divorce or some calamity, there will be only one single either mother or father who is bringing the children. So, these are the types of families that would be seen in the society. Now, why we have to study the family is to understand the consumer socialization of children. The children would get initiated into the purchase behavior through the family. So, we have to understand that process. The process by which children acquire the skills, knowledge, attitudes and experiences necessary to function as consumers. So, the consumer socialization of children is a process by which children acquire the skills, knowledge, attitudes and experiences necessary to function as consumers. The children acquire their most basic behavior and values from the family members. The consumer behavior norms acquired through observation of parents and older siblings who function as role models. That is why many times one would be wondering, even though they may be very rich, but the consumers go to the market and start bargaining with the vegetable vendors. Apart from deriving satisfaction of bargaining and succeeding in it, there is a process which they have learned from their parents, which they are following. Subconsciously, they have seen when they are young, the older siblings or the parents bargaining. So, they have imbibed that you have to bargain while shopping. And when we think of family as a unit, it is not just one role they play only in terms of purchasing. The family members play various roles in the buying behavior. There are some who act as influencers, who influence for purchase, who will initiate the process. There are some who are called as gatekeepers. Gatekeepers are those who prevent the flow of information into the family or the products or brands or services, whatever, they act as gatekeepers. And there are some who are also called as deciders. Even though there could be somebody who has influenced, probably the children who influenced the buying process, the gatekeepers are the people who allow. The deciders could be the mother or the father, or it can be, if it is a joint family, the grandparents. So, the role of the family members would be changing as per their role in the family. And there will be buyers. So, if the mother decides, there will be the father who may be buying. So, he is a buyer. There is another role called as the preparers. That is who actually prepares or converts the product into a meaningful or useful one for the family. So, it could be the mother, or it could be the grandmother, or it could be some sisters who would be actually preparing the product or who would be converting. Users. There could be selective one or two only who would be using it, or the entire family could be using it. Suppose a dishwashing liquid is bought, only the mother, or it could be the servant maid who would be using. Maintainers. The maintainers are the people who maintain the product or service or the information flow and keep that alive and going around. Then there is disposers. So, the family plays various roles in the consumption. Now, the next one is family decision making. The marketers has to understand there are various decision making which family does, sometimes collectively, sometimes individually, sometimes only some people are involved. So, they are broadly husband and wife decision making, influence of children, influence of other members. Say for example, a family is buying a house. The children are very small, so the husband and wife will decide what kind of house they should be buying. There is influence of children. Suppose you are buying chocolates, you will buy based on the influence of the children. It is children decision making. You want to go on vacation, or you are buying car for the entire family. So, the husband, wife and children put together would sit and decide. There are influence of other members. Say for example, the marriage or some major event or activity that has to be done, which affects the entire family and the generations. Then the grandparents, grandmothers, uncles, all would be part of the decision making. So, that is how the decision making of the family is done. So, it goes for many more occasions, and the family, many of us think that it would influence permanently, and some would say no, there is no influence of my family on me now after growing up. That is true. Because in the consumer socialization process, the influence of family will be only till they are pre-teen, at best when they enter into the teenage. Once they cross the teenage, the influence of the friends and other group members would be more than the family members. Hence, we have to understand that the family decision making and family influence is there to a reasonable extent, but after that the role of the family would get limited. But whatever in the formative and to a large extent of the behavior of an individual, the family plays a major role. Having understood the reference groups, having understood the family and its influence, now is the stage to understand the importance of roles and status on the consumers. The role are the activities people expected to perform according to persons around. The role or the activities that are expected from a person based on the people around. A person plays many roles, as we have seen in the family. A person can be a son. A person is also father to somebody. He is also could be grandfather to somebody. He could be uncle to somebody, he is a brother to somebody in the family itself. And when he goes out to the office, he may be an officer, and for some he is a subordinate, for some he is a colleague. So, a person plays major and many roles in the society, and the status changes accordingly. See, we have seen in many movies, the same hero in one movie would play the role of a cop in one movie, and in another movie he would be a dacoit or a robber. In another movie he is a grandfather. In another movie he plays the role of a lover. In another movie the same old hero will play a young son and lover role. So, the status would change according to the role. I know one of the owner of a fashion company. A very traditional family owns the business. The owner or MD is a wife at home to his husband, to her husband. She is a mother to the daughters. She is daughter-in-law to the in-laws. She is also sister to the brother. She is also an MD in the company, and she has colleague directors. So, her role as per the situation changes and the status changes. When she is a mother, she would buy the latest products for the kids, even if it is Western. But when she goes back, or when she has to buy for herself, she would prefer the traditional products, sarees. And there the husband also guides her in her decision making. But when she is buying for the mother-in-law, she is even more cautious. She will buy a very traditional clothing like Kanjivaram sarees or very traditional sarees for her. But when she becomes an MD and buys uniform or clothing for her employees, she is absolutely autocratic. This is what my employees would wear. So, the behavior is dependent on the roles and status. The case which we were discussing, that you have to buy clothing for your brother or sister's wedding. So, many of you would be thinking, as an elder or younger, if you are a younger sister or a brother, they may or may not like what you buy and accept your decisions, because your role is a younger sister or brother. So, the status is inferior to the one who is going to wear that. So, the role and status decide the consumer behavior. Hence, the factors in social, we have to understand how reference groups, family and roles and status affect consumer behavior.